Good evening. I trust you've had a fruitful day. I do not say happy, though I'm sure it's been happy. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Buddha, the blessed, noble, and fully self-awakened one. So we're still working on this particular discourse, and I just thought it might be useful just to go over these arguments, remembering that the Buddha is not being philosophical, he's not being particularly psychological, sociological in the sense of morality, I suppose. His basic angle is always morals. Now, in an earlier discourse, if you remember, he said it's not good enough just to have purity of morals. Even babies have that. But what it does is it clears all the turbulence in the mind. The more virtuous we are, the more peaceful we are, the more happy we are. And that's the base upon which we begin to investigate the three characteristics of existence: impermanence, the cause of suffering, desire, and not self. That's what brings about the end of delusion, which is, of course, the fundamental problem. Okay, so we have three positions. We've got nihilism, the dark side of nihilism, just not obeying anything, not caring for anything. And then we have the idea that there's no consequence to karma, no consequence to your actions. So there's no moral law, really, apart from getting away with it. And the third one was causality, that everything is fate. And the Buddha says, no, we have this one little moment where we can see a desire and we have the ability to say no if it's unwholesome, let it die out, empty the heart of that negativity over time. And we can say yes whenever there's something wholesome. And that's called, that's the great effort, okay? So these people always end up with bad news, and they don't realize the drawbacks, the wretchedness, the corruption of what they're doing. And they don't get the benefits of renunciation, the cleansing power and the benefit of renunciation. Remember, renunciation is not self-mortification. It's giving up those wrong desires. And then the usual thing, because of this wrong speech, you get wrong thought. Sorry, because of this wrong view, you get wrong thought, wrong speech, contradicting the noble ones, convincing others to accept untrue teaching, and glorifying yourself and putting others down. And then there's an whole argument, well, if there is no world, okay, they're safe in the sense that when they die, nothing's going to happen. But if there is, bad news. And then there's the argument, if we say there's no other world, even so, people will criticize them for their bad behavior. And of course, if there is a future world, they will lose, as it says, on two counts. A, they're criticized in this life, and in the next life, they end up in a place of loss. So those are your sort of basic arguments put forward to people who have wrong view. So now then the discourse goes into a section which is not particularly pertinent to us, the formless states. These are the high absorption states where there's nothing to be seen, nothing to be known, etc. Just an empty space, experienced as an empty space. And some people say there isn't, some people say there is, etc., etc. So I don't think we need worry too much about that. But the next one is important. There are some people who say that there is no cessation of future lives. Now, this means there's no nirvana, there's no transcendence. Right? It's not the same as annihilation. So then a sensible person reflects in this manner. Some ascetics and Brahmins say that there's no such thing as nibbana, but I have not seen that. And some ascetics and Brahmins say there is no such thing as Nibbana. There is such a thing as Nibbana, but I've not known that. Without knowing or seeing it, would it be appropriate for me to take one side and declare this is the truth and all the other ideas are silly? So here's the Buddha saying, you know, stay in that place of don't know. It's not a very comfortable place for us to be, you know, because we like to be certain, we like to know. So being able to remain in a place of don't know when we actually don't know is a truthful position. So there's no need for us to come to a conclusion about future lives, about Nibbana, and so on and so forth. What we do is we keep investigating to see whether it is true or not. Now, here's a rather subtle point, I think. Those who believe that rebirth will just be continuous, right? There are some people who believe that you basically just keep being reborn, reborn, reborn forever. There was no end to it. Now, those Brahmins who say such a thing, it is right. Hold on, I've got myself lost here. Those who say that such a thing is a toss. Right. So those Brahmins who say that is this continuous rebirthing, their lives are close to greed, approving, attachment, and grasping. So in other words, this rebirthing process is engineered, is compelled by this sense of self, and the sense of self of me being this person, being this human being. So when I die, I might aspire to be something higher, a god or something, or because of bad actions, I might end up as a pig. So whatever I end up as, it's always going to be driven by this sense of self, this sense of wanting to keep becoming. And that's the grasping and that's the suffering. So those who believe in a continuous life form will never come to the end of greed, aversion, fear, and delusion. Now, those who say there's no such thing as the end, as Nibbana, they are close to non-greed, non-approval, non-attachment. That's interesting, you see, in the sense that those who believe that there will be just annihilation are close to giving everything up, because at some point they are going to have to do that. And if there is an afterlife, if there is Nibbana, they will slowly discover it because of that process of renouncing things just by getting old, just by dying. So that's the argument for the cessation of becoming, as it's put. Yeah. And then the final thing is just about the 4 types of persons found in the world. So the first one is those people who just torment themselves and are committed to the practice of tormenting and mortifying themselves. And there are those people who are committed to mortifying others and tormenting others. And then there are those people who are committed to mortifying both themselves and others, to tormenting themselves and others. And finally, of course, there is the person who neither torments themselves nor others. They live without wishes in the present life. They're extinguished, cooled, experiencing bliss, having become holy in themselves. And they are, of course, the fully liberated persons. And then there's the usual business of how you do that, in this case, through the absorptions, etc., etc. And they come to realize that there is an end to suffering. Now, of course, when all this is spoken, the Brahmins of Sala, who are in a quandary as to who to believe and who not to believe, end off with this paean, of course, to the Buddha. Excellent, Master Gautama, excellent. As if he were writing the overturned or revealing the hidden, pointing out the path to the lost, lighting a lamp in the dark so people with good eyes can see. Master Gautama has made the teaching clear in many ways. We go for refuge to Master Gautama, to the teaching, to the mendicant Sangha. From this day forth, may Master Gautama remember us as lay disciples who've gone forth for refuge for life. So that's another win for the Buddha. So these arguments, these points that are made about nihilism, etc., etc. The scriptures often are, shall we say, very basic in their explanation. That's why there are these commentaries. There are commentaries on the commentaries, the Tika, and these days, of course, there are as many writers as you wish, both academic and practitioners, who continue to give their view upon these teachings by the Buddha. So it's a never-ending process, really, of using the scriptures in order to develop what is meaningful to us in our own lives. So if we take the scriptures at that level, then they work for us, right? So I can only hope that this has been, that going through this discourse has been somewhat inspiring, and that you will continue with your practice until that very day when you will be fully liberated, hopefully sooner rather than later.